So today our lesson will be the second lesson in a sequence. We'll be talking about the history of Canada. Let's start up talking about the first slide. The first people of Canada are called the First Nations. So here is a question. What do we call the first people of Canada? We call them the First Nations. Okay? And they are Aboriginal people or natives who lived in North America before Europeans arrived. So people who used to live in North America before Europeans arrived are called Aboriginal people. They came from Asia during a period called the Ice Age. And as I told you before in the class, that we used to have an area or a period in time that was called the Ice Age. This Ice Age has affected where the first people lived. The ice covered the earth, so people had to move to the south. The climate became more warm, so people settled in the north. So the Aboriginal people are people who used to live before Europeans comes directly after the Ice Age. How did the Aboriginal people settled after the Ice Age? Actually, after the Ice Age, some Aboriginal people, including the Huron and the Icarus, settled in western wetlands. So they have chosen wetlands because they needed to farm, fish, and hunt at the same time. So that's why they have settled down around the wetlands in order to have the chance to farm, hunt, and fish. So if they settle down, they need to build their own villages. Then after building their villages, they have traded with one another. Aboriginal people lived in the west along the Pacific Ocean. They have made canoes. I told you that canoes are like small boats. They have fished in the ocean and in rivers. Also, they have hunted in the forests, and they used the trees in the region in order to build their houses out of woods. The Inuit people lived in far north. Few plants grew there, so they made shelters without using woods. So here, people use two kinds of or two ways in order to build their houses, while to use wood from the forests or to use special plants in order to build shelters. They hunted an very important animal, which is called the caribou. It's an animal like a deer, and they also hunted seals, whales on water. So, if I want to ask you, who were the original people living there in Canada? Who can tell me? People who lived in Canada, what are their names?
The
Huh?
Huron and Iroquois,
Yes, they were called the
Aboriginal
first
people.
Aboriginal people or the first nations.
Second,
What was their main economic activity, or how did they settle there after the Ice Age? What did they do? Who can tell me? Or should I choose? How did they settle down there? Yes, yeah, Adam?
They made canoes and fished in the ocean and rivers.
Yes, thank you. And also they used the rivers in order to
Transport,
transportation, yes, is one way of using rivers, but they also did farming. Thank you, yeah, Adam. Okay, what about their houses? How did they build their houses? Who can tell me how did they build their houses? Or should I choose Ibrahim Zaini?
Yes,
Yes, yeah, Ibrahim. How did they use to build their houses, the Aboriginal people?
They used trees.
They used what?
Trees.
wood.
They used what? Abdurrahman Sabh.
Wood,
No,
out of wood.
Yes, they built their houses out of wood, which came from the forests, and also they used some special plants in order to build shelters. Okay, they also hunted a special animal. What was the name of the animal they used to hunt?
Caribou.
Yes, caribou, or they used also to hunt seals and whales on water. Let's move to the next slide. Okay. Okay. Around the year of 1000 AD, Vikings arrived. So the second people after the first nation or the aboriginal people lived the Vikings. Actually, the Vikings arrived. They were the first European to reach Canada. So before the Europeans settled down there, there were the First Nation or the Aboriginal people. Then the Europeans arrived. When the European reached Canada, they settled there in Newfoundland, but they didn't stay long. They were called Vikings. The Vikings are the first European to settle there. The next explorer to arrive were the French. So from Europe came the Vikings, then came the French. In the year of 1530, an explorer named Jacques Cartier came to Canada and he sailed up to St. Lawrence River. So he claimed the area for France, and the area eventually became known as New France. So when Jacques Cartier came to Canada, he sailed to St. Lawrence River and he claimed this part of land to France. So it was announced as New France. It was announced eventually as New France. Then number one were the Vikings. Number two, the French. And then came in the year of 1600, another French explorer arrived. His name was Samuel de Champlain, and he founded the first settlement, which was called the Quebec. Over time, more French settlers migrated to Canada. So French take a huge part or had a huge role in settling down in Canada. Number one came the Vikings, then came the French people. First came to the St. Lawrence River and named it New France, and then they arrived to Quebec. Some of them, after settling down, became fur traders and they traded European goods to the Huron First Nation people in exchange of beaver's fur. And they sent the fur back to Europe. So when the French people came and settled down, they have worked in trade. They traded with the Aboriginal people. They take fur, or especially the beaver's fur, in exchange of European goods. So, what was their economic activity there? They were working in trade. They have exchanged fur with European goods. So, if I'm asking you about the timeline or about actually the first people who settled from Europe, not the Aboriginal people, who were the first people to settle there?
Vikings.
Vikings. Thank you, Muhammad. After
Viking.
after the Vikings, thank you, Adam. After the Vikings came the
Friend.
Newfoundland.
who came to Newfoundland? Which people?
The
Friend.
French.
French, and they called it New France. After they came to New France, they didn't stay long, and then came people and they settled
Jacques
Quebec.
Cartier.
in Quebec. Yes, thank you very much.
Oh,
They settled in Quebec. After settling down in Quebec, what kind of economic activity they have done there?
Trades.
Trade, yes. They traded what in exchange of what?
European goods to the Huron First Nations.
What? They take from them what? Beaver's
Beaver.
fur. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Yes, they take the beaver's fur. Let's move to the next part. Other settlers were farmers and priests. So we had people who were working in trade, but other settlers were farmers and priests. Farmers grow crops and fed the other settlers. So part of the settlers were farmers. They grow crops and or fed the other settlers. The priests came to Canada to minister French people who were Roman Catholic. They also came because they hoped to convert native people to Christianity. So why did the priests came to France? In order to minister? Minister means to rule French people who were already Roman Catholic, and also at the same time they hope that they can convert native people to Christianity. So these were the two purposes for the priests. So if I'm asking you now about the economic activities that was done by the settlers, you will tell me trade, farming, and some of them were priests. Why did the priests came? They came in order to minister or rule the people who were already Roman Catholic, in order to also convert the native people to Christianity. In the year of 1600 and 1700, France was powerful nation, but soon Britain began to compete with France for the Americas. So France was a very powerful country, but also England or Britain wanted to be as powerful as France. So they had a competition. Both of them competed over the Americas, North America and South America, which were already just
They
discovered
went to
soon.
war.
Yes, they went to war actually, yes. And the British formed Hudson Bay Company. What's Hudson Bay Company? They set up trading posts in Hudson Bay in order to gain some of the fur trade. So they started to buzzer. So if, for example, if Ahmed wants to take Gasser's desk, or it's not his desk, he fight over the desk, him and Dahrug. What did he do at the beginning? He came and he put his books on the desk. Dahrug wants the desk and Ahmed wants the desk of Gassers. It's not to them, Aslan. It doesn't belong to them, but they will fight over it. But did they start with war? No. They will start by putting their stuff on the desk. That's what Britain did. Britain came and formed the Hudson Bay Company, which to set up trading posts in Hudson Bay in order to gain some of the fur trade. In the year of 1700, Britain and France fought wars. When Britain won a victory in 1763, France had to give up much of its land in North America. So what happened when they did war? Actually, what happens is Britain won a victory. So France had to give her part of much of the land in North America. However, the British passed the Quebec Act. Quebec Act is a law. With the act, Britain allowed French settlers in Canada to keep their language, their religion, their system of laws. Okay, let me start from the beginning again. We stopped that. We have three different types of economic activity. They were trading, and they were what and what?
Farmers and the priests.
Priests, farmers and priests. Okay, what was the role of the farmer? What was the farmer's rule?
Grow crops.
Grow crops and feed other settlers.
Settlers.
Thank you, يا عبد الرحمن. What about priests, يا آدم واصل? What about priests? What was their role? آدم واصل?
They came to minister the French people who were Roman
Yes.
Catholic.
Yes, and also to
Convert native people to Christianity.
thank you very much, يا آدم. Thank you. Yes, to convert other people to Christianity. After that came the France people. They were very powerful nation, but soon Britain began to compete with France over the Americas. So what happens in the year 1600, 1700? France and Britain started to fight over the Americas. So what did the British form it at the beginning? What was their movement? Yes, they started to,
Hudson Bay Company.
yes, the Hudson Bay Company, which is to set trading posts in Hudson Bay to gain some of the fur trade. After that, there was a war between France and Britain. Who won this war at the beginning? Who can tell me who won this war at the beginning?
France.
France? Is it France?
No, لا Britain.
Britain.
Yes, Britain. So when Britain won this war, they have to give her much of the land. So the Britain came and they did something called the Quebec Act. What's meant by the Quebec Act? Who can tell me what's meant by the Quebec Act?
That they put it their stuff at the Canada.
allowed French settlers to keep their language,
language,
religion,
and
system
the
of
system of
laws.
laws.
Yes, again, they allowed them to keep their religion, language, and system of laws. That's the Quebec Act. Yeah, you can stay in my country, you can keep your language, religion, and your system of laws. But during the American Revolution, many Americans moved to Canada. In the year of 1867, the British colonies in Canada were worried that the United States would try to take over Canada. Yes, and that's what the United States tried also to do. The United to become Dominion of Canada. طب why did they make the Dominion of Canada? Because they were worrying that the United States would take over Canada. This new nation was partially self-governing within the British Empire. So what is the Dominion of Canada? The Dominion of Canada consists of, as you can see, 4 provinces: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. This is called the Dominion of Canada. Why it was formed? It was formed because Britain was afraid that United States would come and take over Canada. That's why they formed the Dominion of Canada. Dominion of Canada consists of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. This was self-governing within the British Empire. يعني it wasn't empired, or it wasn't governed by British. No, it was self-governed. Self-governed, they mean that they can govern themselves, they can rule themselves. During the American Revolution, many Americans moved to Canada, and later they were united, become the Dominion of Canada, and they were self-government in the British Empire. Okay, and I told you, and you can see here the Dominion of Canada. This is the Dominion of Canada. This is all for our lesson today. We're going to be continuing the lesson tomorrow, inshallah. Do you have any questions?
No.
No.
No. Nice.
Okay, again, what did I say about the homework? Don't forget to send your late homeworks. About the project, please check your folder on the SMS. Start proceeding with your project because your deadline will be 11th of January. So you need to work. You're going to be working individually because of the current circumstances. You can't be together in groups. Okay, if you have any question concerning homeworks or concerning the project, you can contact me. The projects will be sent through my email, as well as all the homeworks should be sent through my emails or the SMS
This
email. Yes.
it will be made on Word or on CBN.
You can do it on Word. You can do it PowerPoint. You can do it computerized version, or you can just draw and put pictures on Canson. Whatever you prefer, because you're going to be taking pictures and send it to me through email.
Okay. Can
So
we
choose
go now? Miss, can we go now?
whatever the way you want.
ماشي.
Okay? يلا, see you inshallah tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, see you. Bye.